Get ready for today's most unbelievable confessions. Story 1. I did a lot of weird things as a kid, things I've told no one. Around 10, 28 meters now, puberty hit me hard. I discovered masturbation and porn, and didn't really have any guidance as to what was normal. The anime porn games were all I had to guide me, and we all know how perverted those can be. I don't know exactly when or why, but my young horny ass decided it would feel good to piss myself while everyone slept, so I'd sneak outside in just my boxers and pee. Then I started to look it up online, specifically women peeing in panties. I love see women in the panties. To this day, I've gotten over the pissing, for the most part anyways. Fast forward a little, I remember thinking about how it would feel to be a woman. I had 2 younger sisters, but they would be too small. So I did a panty raid on my mom. I would jerk off and cum in them, then stuff them under my bed. One time my friend was over, and I decided to show him me wearing my mom's thong. He laughed because my balls hung out to the side. Me and my friends did weird things. We would circle jerk, but I could never finish. Once, I tried touching my friend, but he wasn't for it. Another time we went skinny dipping. A friend dunked my head and dry humped my bottom. Later, the same one jerked me off. A little older, my friends and my sisters would play truth or dare. Not a whole lot happened looking back as an adult. A lot of flashing and dry humping. I used to dry hump my sister. She was 8 and I was 11. My dad remarried and I had 2 new step siblings. One 6, the other was 8. The 6-year would always try to kiss me. I let it happen after a while, denying her. Then it got worse. My stepbro moved into the same room as me. At first we were fine, but then one day on a vacation we were hiding for hide-and-go-seek, and he sucked my dick away. When we got home, he wanted to do more stuff. I told him no, it's wrong, and to go away. We did stuff on and off until I was 16. My stepmom knew something was up with us, and we fought a lot. I went to live with my mom. We never did anything besides groping and mouth stuff. He was apparently doing something similar with his sister when he went to his dad's. He got caught and told them about me. I was 16. He was 13. I can say all this because I was charged and convicted of felonious sexual assault. After 2 years of court, I plead guilty and am now on the registry for life. My stepbrother was similarly charged, but got off with a conviction that would disappear. From 19 to 25, I was in and out of jail, homeless, and abusing all sorts of drugs. I hated myself and did all I can to kill myself without actually trying to kill myself. Today I'm sober and have a family. An instant one, but it's the most I've had in a long time. I grew out of the panty wear, piss, and the gay stuff. I don't see little kids as sexy or anything like that. My GF has a son who I love like my own, and we hope to have our own kid one day. Life is better, yet the past still drags at me some days. I only see my mom and occasionally talk the nanny. I haven't seen my sisters in over 10 years, and I miss them very much. I live a life of what-ifs in my head. I deserve to get punished. I never physically hurt my stepbrother, but mentally he must have suffered. I led him to make the wrong choices because of my selfish need for pleasure. I don't know what I'm looking for by posting this, but it felt good to get it out. Story 2. Can I be made good as a convicted rapist with therapy in prison? I am convicted of 2 counts of rape and 3 sexual assault not underage. I wax on drugs and in psychosis when I raped the woman. I was 18. I was sectioned on a 3741st and sent to Ashworth High Security Hospital. I am 21 now and not in psychosis or on drugs after ECT treatment and antipsychotics. I admitted to all my crime and only went to court for sentence, which is 15 years. I'm now fit to start my sentence and am in mental health rehab awaiting prison transfer in the next month. I have had my drug use and psychosis cured, but I still have urges, and when I masturbate, I do think of rape. In prison, I will have good access to psychosexual help and treatment and want to change. If I can't change, I don't know what will happen to me, but I think I can. Story 3. Only one other person knows that I have another child. To my friends and family, I'm just a regular 28 meters with 2 small kids. The truth is that they are my 2 lard and third. My first child is going to be 18 soon. When I was 10, I had a best friend that I did everything with. The type of friend whose house you could walk into without knocking. Sometimes I won't be home, but he'd be there waiting for me. And I'd do the same sometimes at his house. One time I was waiting for him to get back from his dad's house, but he was stuck in traffic and had taken a few hours to get back. During the time I waited for him, his mom came on to me and we did the deed. No details for reasons. I had not thought about that until a few years ago. I had gotten a message on Facebook from his mom, and we started talking. Everything was normal, until she started talking about her kids. My friend was an only child when I moved, so I don't know her other kids. She then mentioned that day, and my head almost exploded. We do a DNA test and turns out they're my child. Thing is that she's white, and our child isn't, so I don't know how she is dealing with the questions on her side. Honestly, I think that because of the way I was raised, I've never had a victim mentality. And I'm not about to ruin someone's life over something that happened almost 20 years ago. Feels great getting this weight off my chest. Story 4. I have a second life, and getting old sucks as well. I'm turning 21 this year, and damn it hurts hearing that number. I've been homeless since the start of the year, professionally avoiding campus security by night, drinking the cold winter mornings away. I've managed to avoid anyone knowing this about me so far. It may sound slightly depressing, but I am weirdly content, despite the little sleep I get. Mentally, I'm still 16, but this year especially, I am being increasingly reminded I am no longer young, or at least young enough to society, that I am able to live as carefree as I once did. I find myself increasingly being referred to as just an adult. I am barely asked for ID anymore. Story 5. This is destroying me mentally and physically. Is this worth it? There's this guy friend of mine who lead me on, and when I confessed, he said he didn't feel the same way. I felt played, wanted to ghost. Then he said he will think about dating me in future, which he says he doesn't feel that way a month ago. So I got played twice. IG. My self-respect is getting hurt. I think this is an anxious attachment. I am losing sleep thinking about him, daydreaming about him. I feel he is so selfish and keeping this friendship with me for his sake. He told me he is emotionally attached to me, but I don't want an emotional attachment with a guy that doesn't lead to anywhere. I clearly still have feelings for him. I am trying to make sense of how he feels attachment with me, not feelings. Why is he texting me then? Why is he spending time with me? Am I just for passing his time? He once lied to me about not talking with anyone on call on the platform we met, but I got to know in conversations he did. Ever since then, I am doubting everything he ever told me, like about his past, bringing up his ex when I was about to confess or when he was scared. He tells me I am the only one he is vulnerable with. But what if all of that is a deceit, to gain my sympathy and draw my attention to play with my feelings? Everything about his past feels fishy. Yesterday night, in the little sleep I had, every puzzle was kept together in my dream to understand my paranoia is valid. Should I be honest with him about all this and ask him? How do I detach myself without ghosting him and hurting both of us? Do I think he is a narcissist who is using me for his emotional needs? 4. He only cares about me when he wants to, and not when I need him to be there for me. Is this person worth fighting with myself? Story 6. When I was a teenager, I used to steal so many things. Looking back, 35 years ago, 1990 to 93 at 15 to 18, I don't know why I did this so much, but it wasn't just candy bars. I recall buying large items, skates, game consoles, games, electronic hardware, etc. I would go in and legit purchase. I'd save the receipt, and later that week I'd go back to the store, take the exact item off the shelf, and go to customer service and refund the item in my hand and get my money back, even though the original purchase was back at home. I would walk into a store with one of their bags, saved from a different day, and tape the bag to the largest of items. Once was a canoe. I would simply tape the store bag on the item and walk out with it, with confidence. No one stopped me. I asked for help if it was heavy. With such brazen confidence and the taped bag, I was never questioned. I used to always change a $50 tag with the $3 tag and pay the $3 price. So many things. Never ever got caught, but my dad found out, as kids brag out loud, and he brought me to a few of the places where I stole from. He only knew minimal. The store managers would all thank me for my honesty and confessing, and one offered me a job pushing carts. For the record, I stopped stealing. I completely understand the consequences as an adult and don't dare. I am now a very successful adult and can pay or save up for my wants and needs. Just weird that I was cool with doing this for some reason as a kid. Story 7. Cheers for sobriety. If you need motivation, here it is. It all started some 10 years ago, with casual beer binge sessions over the weekends with friends. Nothing wild. I was a big beer drinker and had a big tolerance to it, so I was drinking so much of it that years ago I was given a nickname, which I still have in my hometown. The nickname is Stein, because of my big stature, and because I was always drinking beer out of a Stein glass. Everyone knew Stein as the good, happy, fun guy with a smile on his face, but no one knew that somewhere along the way, Stein became a now functional alcoholic. Beer binge weekends turned into 3 to 4 beers in a pub. After work, almost every day. I worked 4 shifts back then, so I had a free weekend every month and a half, so it didn't matter what day it was for drinking. Then COVID and lockdown hit. Everything was closed except the gas stations, so I started buying cans there to drink at home, usually 4. Then lockdown ended, but my habit with cans did not. So after work, I would buy 4 cans and drink 2 on my way from work to the pub while driving. I had a half an hour drive and 2 cans felt like water, so fuck it. Then had 3 or 4 more in the pub and 2 more at home. It was like that for 2 years. Then I noticed the beer on the weekends was making me feel tired and sleepy, so I decided to stop. I wish I did. But no, unfortunately I started to do coke. It went like that for a year or two. Then I started to hate myself because of it, and stopped to socialize because of it, and started to drink at home alone after work. Every day. It was like that for 2 years, until a month ago. I was drinking 4 to 7 cans every day, approx. 50 cans a week. I did my job well, had no visible problems. Because of it, nobody knew my state except the ones I was venting to. Because I was afraid. It came to a point that I was almost crying when going to the shop to buy beer. Because I knew I should NT, but I did. I lost the buzz. Each beer I had was only making me more depressed, and I only felt sickness when going to bed. I was getting so drunk while preparing dinner that I would eat half of it and throw away the rest. Then sometimes I would throw up some of it before sleep. Each day the same, full of guilt and sickness. I was afraid I can't stop, but realized I actually never even tried to. So I tried and did it, and for me it was the easiest thing I've done. If I only knew how easy it was before then, maybe I wouldn't spend my past 10 years in a cycle of working and getting drunk and would spend my youth a bit better. But that's in the past, and now for the first time in a long time, I am excited and looking forward for the future. Story 8. High school stunt that I'll not forget even in afterlife. Back in electrotechnic school at 17, I pulled off a legendary stunt, Eric's. I hacked the school's bell system using a hidden switch, letting me ring it whenever I wanted. My friends and I triggered it 15 minutes early during boring classes, causing total chaos. Teachers were confused, students were thrilled, and for 3 days we ruled the schedule. But on the 4th day, a technician found my wiring. The principal threatened expulsion, but I never got caught. Honestly, I laugh so hard every time I tell this story. A bit embarrassing, but still funny. BTW, sorry for possible bad English cold sweat smile. Story 9. They have it so easy, and I work my ass off. A memoir. It's been days since I slept or ate properly. A proper workaholic. Why? Because I love it. I love the outcomes it promises me, the life it would give. But all my friends are opportunists. I've done so much work, darling. I cry about this all the time. I pity myself. Every day I hope this changes. Maybe if I step down for a while, they'll notice me. But what if I get replaced? Crazily enough, I live in panic. I wake up in the middle of the night, in an empty room, with messages about work on my phone. I wish you could see how I am right now, darling. My room is lit low, a yellow hue. To my right is the window. It's 1:21 a.m., and I can see the waxing gibbous moon from outside. There's Bon Iver playing on my phone, and tears in my eyes. Don't worry, I'm happy. I just thought you should know. Story 10. I took 5 to 6 hour-long breaks at my full-time job. So after 3 years of sitting at home building up depression, I came to the conclusion that what I needed to make my head empty was to work full-time. I got a job as a cleaner at a factory, and having made the decision to work completely by myself, I was probably the most excited to go to work out of anyone in that building. I worked alone and was allowed to decide in what order I did my tasks. I liked thinking about how I could do my tasks faster, more efficiently, and in a way that was just good enough. I am very fit, so once I had the muscle memory down, I could dust off the whole factory in under an hour and work up a good sweat with it. I figured that if I just used a broom instead of pulling out the whole cleaning wagon as I was told, it'd not only be faster, but I could also reach the corners now. I figured out optimal routes for some tasks and skipped tasks that felt unnecessary and that saved a lot of time. After about a month, I managed to get done in less than 3 hours. The rest of the time, I'd sit on the toilet. I brought a book, some Japanese homework, a squeeze weight to exercise, and downloaded some anime before work each morning. There was also a very nice Croatian guy who let me use his office with coffee machine as an extra break room because you're a hardworking guy and deserve an extra break. There was a big building, and everyone mostly just stayed with their own machine, so everyone just assumed I was in a different section. I actually did tell my boss about it. Not the toilet part. There was being talked about me taking extra breaks, so I got ahead of them and went to my boss. I said, hey, I've been getting done with my tasks quicker recently, and doing an extra round here and there or taking an extra break isn't very useful to you, of course. So how about I work a few hours less and get paid a little more but less than I get now? You get the same amount of work for less money, and I get more free time. He refused and just wanted to give me more work, so I made up other tasks that I could do myself and just didn't do them. No one noticed a thing after that, and I worked there for 6 months until I managed to find a house. for which I had to move. Not sure if I should feel guilty. They were the ones who severely overestimated the difficulty of the job, and I still don't see the problem with the deal I tried to make with my boss. Story 11. I reported someone and think I got them fired from their job. During my childhood, I was bullied by many, including adults, especially this one guy, who had a smear campaign against me on behalf of his brother and sister-in-law who were neighbors. He threatened to harm me and harm some schoolmates. Yes, he had a bad reputation in the school. So a couple of years later, I tracked him down. I find out he immigrated, which is a dream of mine, but I can't do. I tried reporting him there, but they said he left years ago, and I should report him somewhere else. I reported him there and found out where he was working. I pretended to be someone he knew and made a ridiculous complaint. No, it seems like he's unemployed. Honestly, although most would regret this and feel bad, I don't. I don't know his life is going, but I obviously wish him the worst. Story 12. Am I wrong for ending my 14 years friendship because she celebrated my 21st B-day without me? My ex-best friend, 21 at that time, and I, just turning 21, have gone way back. We first met in Wisconsin back in 2nd grade. My family is in the military, so I moved around a lot and I wasn't able to make a lot of friends. When I had hit 2nd grade, I had moved to Wisconsin, and the only girl in the class who talked to me was the girl who ended up being my best friend for the next 14 years. I had ended up moving to San Diego, and then the Bay Area, SF, while she had moved to Seattle. For the next 5 years, we didn't have any way of contacting each other. Then in sophomore year of high school, we finally had both gotten a phone and had gotten back in contact from sophomore to the end of senior year of high school. We were inseparable. We were FaceTime in every day, texting every day, and even talking to each other's parents whenever we could. After high school, my best friend had decided that she wanted to move to California, and I have told her that she could move in with ME. At that point, she was working for a union job and making a lot of money, so she had gotten a really expensive brand new Toyota car. On her way to California, not only did she get fired from that job, but she had also gotten in such a bad accident that it had completely totaled her car and left her to pay the rest of her car off, which was so much money it almost made her bankrupt. Instead of staying there and paying off the rest of her car, she had decided to still move in with me. I had gotten her a job with me and had introduced her to all of the people at my job. That's when she started making friends, and I had made friends with those friends. Fast forward to about a year, and we had decided to move out together into a house with 340-plus-year-old men while we were still really young. During that move, I had ended up going into old habits. Sting got really depressed. I had volunteered to go to the psych ward because she had told me that, "I'm scared for you, and if you don't go, then I'm going to call for you." I'm in the psych ward for about a week, only, because I did everything I was supposed to do. I hated being there, because it's always so traumatic. But I love her like a sister, so I do what she said. During the first phone call I had with her, I had made a joke about getting out faster because that's how I cope. Then it's fucking scary in the psych ward, especially since I've been there before. She didn't like it at all, and instead of talking about how I'm doing or feeling, I am spending the rest of the time trying to reassure her that I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. I'm there for a couple of days, and when I come out, I'm thinking that I'm going to have that support system from her, since she had made me go. But instead she was nowhere to be found. In my head, since she made me pick to go freely or in an ambulance, I'm thinking she's going to be there to make sure that I'm not relapsing. Instead, she spent all of her free time with a guy. Story 13. I leave trash on people's cars if they park inappropriately. I'll admit that I get very and irrationally angry at other drivers. To me, driving just seems so simple, and the fact that people can screw it up so badly keeps me up at night. I've been doing this for over a year now. I live near a college campus with just one free parking lot, so it's constantly full towards the night, but you can easily get a spot and keep it if you know how and when it fills. Unless some dolt comes in and double parks because they're afraid someone will bump the conker precious hunk of fiberglass, that is. I'm on the road a lot for work, so I tend to eat while I drive. This OFC leads to some trash that needs dealing with. If I see a car taking up multiple spaces, or, in some cases, blocking the one and only way out, I know I've found my newest trash can. Windshield wipers work as great skewers. Spoilers are a great spot to wedge soaked bags. Birds really like French fries. As a disclaimer, please do not stuff anything into people's tailpipes. This can cause the exhaust to build up inside the cabin and can lead to great injury or death if the driver does not notice in time. I have never done this, as I only wish to annoy the driver, not kill or even hurt them. Story 14. Decided I have 9 months left to live life up and I'm done. I am 25 and I've been struggling with depression and have been hospitalized since age 11. I struggled the worst in the past year. I thought things got better last month and I pushed through, but now I am back at square one. OFC. triggered by the same things of school and my ex. I hate what I am studying, and everyone is telling me it's too late to switch since I only have 2 classes left for next semester. Still have to take a licensing exam that is the same as taking the MCAT, which I am not excited nor prepared for. I was sitting in class tonight pretty much crying BC. I hate what I'm learning, it's just not fun to me. I'm capable of understanding the material, but I just don't enjoy it. I don't have any desire to go to 4 years, but apparently getting a job as just a technician is difficult, so I would have to. I feel ugly. I want to get some sort of plastic surgery, but I don't even know what to get to change my face for the better. I lost so much weight, BC, of how bad my depression got in the last few months, and my body was the only thing I was confident in. Now there's nothing. I've been trying to gain the weight back with no avail. Then everyone in my life, my coworkers, friends, guys I slept with, reminding me every single day how skinny I've gotten, making it worse. I keep trying to get in relationships, but no one has wanted to take me serious, just keep me as a fuck buddy. And it's just like, am I not good enough to be loved? I just can't imagine anyone ever wanting to marry me or be with me forever, even the ugliest man on the planet. I don't have a nice smile. I've never had anyone tell me, I love your smile. BC, it's a hideous smile. And I know, my teeth are fine. It's just the way my face widens. And who wants to spend the rest of their life with someone they don't even like how they smile? I just want to pack my things and drive cross country and see where I belong. But I can't because I have class, work, and no car. I'm choosing to live these final months as my last. And I'm contemplating on just dropping out of school, working extra, buying a car, and living these last few months out. I honestly want to tell my family. I was thinking of letting my therapist know, but I'm not sure how that'll work. You know, there's countries where you can be euthanized. So this is how I'm approaching this as. Story 15. I really do think my sister is special needs, and I'm not being mean. My sister is 25 years old, and she is a teacher's assistant at a special education school, where she is doing a really terrible job. When she 3, she suddenly lost all of her speech and eloped often, which was bad considering she lived near a busy road, a train track, and a lake. She learned how to talk again, and when she went to school, she was put into speech, occupational, and physical therapy, and was eventually diagnosed as being mentally disabled. My mom fought hard and hard until she was taken out of all of these programs and graduated with an advanced diploma. Success story of overcoming misconceptions? WRONG. My sister can really only communicate through echolalia and scripting. If you ask her an unexpected question, she's liable to start yelling at you. She can't identify which numbers are bigger. She doesn't know basic history facts. Nothing to say about what it takes to get an advanced diploma. She can't read beyond about a 2nd grade level and can't understand movies beyond Despicable Me. She can't walk very well due to extreme clumsiness. I saw her school records once, and when she was in the special class, her math and comprehension were fine. Once she was removed, however, it became completely illogical. The teacher that got her out of the special CLSSS passed her anyways to prove a point, I believe. And about the advanced diploma, it became obvious to me when I was in high school that teachers would do anything to inflate their test scores. Nice. I even had a teacher who was giving us answers during a test. None of her teachers even remember her because they just pushed her through. This is just something to get it out there because it just drives me nuts that my mom refuses to acknowledge it when it's so obvious. She would have probably had a lot better life if she had gotten the necessary services and got a job she could actually do. She could probably still be a teacher's assistant, but actually be good at it if she had received special services. Whatever. Story 16. No one truly knows how much I smoke, and it's weighing on me. I've tried cleaning up my act the last few years. I've been sober from drugs and alcohol for 2 years, haven't watched porn or felt the need to in months, and shit, I don't even drink coffee anymore. I just haven't been able to stop the cigs. My parents and close friends know I smoke, but not how much. Almost a pack a day at this point. If the rest of my family knew I smoked, they wouldn't be happy, as my uncle died of esophageal cancer a couple years ago. At family gathos and stuff, I say I need something from my car, or I'm going to the toilet, and they haven't caught on. Fuck, as I sit here writing this morning I had 3 with my morning coffee, and I'm lighting up 1 more as I write this. I procrastinate study and chores all day with having a cigarette, and all that time wasted adds up. I'm just a bit fearful of quitting, because I've used them as a crutch for so long. I'm 26 now, and having been vaping or smoking since I was 19. I've never smoked as much as I'm smoking now, though. I'm 75% through Alan Carr's easy way to quit smoking, and I have so much hope that I can break the habit. Already so many things have come to light from this book, but it's like stepping into cold water or jumping into the unknown, and I'm nervous about it, but I will try, because I hate myself for smoking so much. I haven't been honest to anyone about this before, but it feels good to get off my chest. If anyone has any advice, please tell me. I want to be free from this vice and live a healthier life instead of smoking 24/7. Cheers. Story 17. I was overpaid by 24 hours after doing 12 minutes of overtime. I used to work taking supervisor calls in a call center. We had a small team of 8 to 10 people, and were short-staffed whenever anyone was sick or on vacation, which made voluntary overtime easy to come by. I decided to go in for OT one day, and it was just the team asshole and I there. The phones were quiet, but he was not. I decided I had better things I could be doing and clocked out within 12 minutes. But my next check had 24 hours and 12 minutes of OT at time and a half. I guess clocking out so quickly broke the payroll system's brain. I didn't touch the money for a very long time so that I could just give it back and say that I didn't pay attention to the amount of my deposits, but the company never noticed. How is that even possible? I'm 16M, starting to think I don't have any strive to live. This isn't a suicide note or anything, just something I've realized as I've been going through therapy and living my short 16 years on this planet. I have always had a lot of pain in my life. My mother was, and sometimes still is, a source of abuse. She verbally and physically abused me harshly when I was younger, and over time she stopped being physically abusive, mainly due to me growing taller and stronger. She has a lot of issues from her own past and trauma. No excuse. Among those being a clean freak and obsessed with nitpicking details, and also belittling people. She put me down a lot as a kid, to the point where my self-esteem went down to zero, and I had no self-confidence in anything whatsoever. My mother also often went into arguments with my dad, who she has controlled and tried to manipulate for most of the time I've known her, except recently, in which he has gotten better at standing his ground. I got bullied when I was younger, mostly verbally. I had some really manipulative friends as well as friend groups who made sure I didn't feel welcome and used me mostly as a punching bag. Despite this, I have always been a certified yapper and have ADHD, so I've been awkwardly social most of my life, and nowadays, I have great friends due to this. Suffice to say, including things that I haven't shared, I've been through the ringer. And it took me a long time to admit that there were some pretty fucked up things in my life. But those things have already happened, and they are done. The trouble now is that it feels like it's still clinging on no matter how hard I try. I no longer enjoy the company of my family, and I barely get out of the house. I have lots of friends, none of whom I actually hang out with in person. I play games all day and can barely muster the energy to go eat or drink water. I would call it plain laziness if I was actually indulging myself. I'm not, though. I don't even feel like I can get up to do things I love to do. When I was in freshman year, I loved playing piano. I no longer can even get up to the piano in my own damn room and play a fucking note. I am cruel sometimes. My father tries his best to help, albeit he has his own passive-aggressive behaviors. But I just revert into a child. I only actually become self-aware of this when it's all over, and I realize that I just yelled and screamed and blew up, and I don't really even know why. The biggest thing is, of course, school. I can't go some days. I skip. I haven't done pretty much any homework this school year. I coast by and get lucky because I'm not stupid, but I still fail my classes a lot of the time. I waste opportunity. I missed auditions for a big musical this year that everyone expected me to get the lead for because I pretended to be sick so I didn't have to go to school. I am judgmental to people, and I'm not a very good friend. I'm there for a good time and if it's a really serious situation, but actually going out of my way to get someone a gift, sacrificing my time, acknowledging their time, listening to them, I don't really. I honestly am so done with myself. I don't even know why I try to pretend I care about anything. Because love and care is an action. And I haven't been acting right at all. I frankly am so tired, and I haven't even gotten to adulthood yet. I feel so lonely and hateful a lot of the time. Thank God I'm not a violent person, but it almost feels worse because I'm hurting myself. I watch porn and overeat among other vices, and that leads me to sexualize people and be a shut-in. Thankfully, I'm reducing it now, but when I got exposed to it at 7, and ever since then I was watching some shameful things. Nothing illegal, of course, but as deplorable as you can get. And this is all stuff I've known for a long time. I'm self-aware. I'm not an idiot. So the conclusion to this whole rant is, as I'm sitting on the toilet thinking this, do I even have the strive to live anymore? Do I even enjoy the process that everyone else does? Is it really worth it for me to pretend to try or half-ass this entire privilege I have been given to live the way I have? I just don't seem to care that much about anything, and I'm not sure where to go from here. And I better figure it out soon because I am hurting people, intentionally or otherwise. Hooked on these shocking confessions? Hit that subscribe button for more. Story 19. I disabled my teacher's account to avoid a failing grade. When I was 15, I once intentionally logged into my teacher's workspace 3 times with the wrong password so her account would get disabled. The goal? To stop her from entering my failing grade. It actually worked, for a little while at least. She couldn't log in, and the grade wasn't recorded immediately, but the next day, she stood in front of the whole class and asked who did it. I just sat there in silence, completely terrified. No way was I confessing. Looking back, I kinda laugh at the situation, but I'm also so glad I kept my mouth shut. I never found out who did it, and if I had confessed, she probably would have gotten me expelled. 20. I stole over $200 from my classmates in high school. I'm probably misremembering some details, as this would have been over 10 years ago. But anyways, in my first year of high school, I was part of a leadership club. Just before the winter holidays that year, we planned some fun activities/games for all the students to take part in. Everyone on the team split in groups and had to come up with some kind of activity. My group decided to do one of those guess how many jelly beans are in the jar games and charge people, I think it was like $2 per guess. For the only paid activity, we had a pretty decent turnout, surprisingly. I don't remember exactly how much money we made, but it was definitely a couple hundred since my school was quite big. Anyways, we were collecting money in a separate jar. The club supervisors told me to give them the jar of money after the event was over, and the money would be put towards improvements for the school or something like that. I don't know why, but I just put the jar of money in my locker and left it there. No one asked about it. We came back from our winter holiday, and I let it sit in my locker a little while longer to see if the supervisors would ask about it, and they still didn't. At that point, I decided to just start spending it. My friends would come to my locker during lunch to grab some change and buy food. I even remember just inviting random people to my locker like to take from the stash as well. After a few months, maybe closer to the end of the school year, there was still a decent amount of money in the jar. I remember bringing it home and dumping all the leftover change in my wallet. I never really believed that $200 plus worth of change would go towards school improvements, but it absolutely should not have been funding lunches for me and my friends. Story 21. When working as a server in a 5-star fine dining establishment, a customer once asked for a to-go box. He said he wanted to take the rest of his dinner home to his dog. He went on and on about his dog, said he felt bad that he'd been so busy, and wanted to take something special for her. I went to the back, sat my tray down, and turned around to grab a box. When I had my head turned, the dishwasher, trying to be helpful, had dumped the contents of the plate into a big trash can that we dumped all the leftover food in. I didn't want the dog to be disappointed and figured the dog wouldn't care, so I picked the food items out of the trash and put it in a box. On his way out, I heard him say, "This was so good, I think I'm gonna eat it myself, so we need to stop and get the dog a cheeseburger on the way home." Story 22. I should have ended my friendship when I had the chance. Me, 26F, and my best friend, 25F, met at college and have been inseparable since the day we met. We have gone through all stages of friendship, including obsession. It felt stupidly amazing engaging in this until I started to notice that this is not normal at all now. I hate myself for it and feel fucking awful depending so much on someone, even though on the outside it all appears normal. I am not sure if I am in love or just obsessed. The only thing I do know is that I can't stand this feeling another day. Story 23. My stepdaughter went topless in front of me twice, but she doesn't remember it happening. Okay, the backstory. My 45M, GF, 43F, has 2 kids, 21M, 18F. We have been together 3 years. I call the daughter Anne, my daughter. Over the past year, she stared, introducing me as her dad. Bio dad walked out 12 years ago and has never fostered a relationship with the kids. Son Dave. Son Dave has a little bit of a relationship with dad, but it is always Dave who makes the effort. My girlfriend Victoria is an alcoholic. How? High-functioning one, but still. And Anne and I kind of bonded over that as I grew up in a house with addicts. Dave never really tried for a relationship with me. I would plan things to get GF out, so not left at home drinking. Most outings Dave would agree to, but day off he would flake. After a while I stopped asking, and it would just be the 3 of us. I have 4 kids of my own that I visited regularly sometime. Was Vicky and Anne. Sometimes it was just Anne on outing with my kids. So for the past 3 years things have been good. Still are. The issue I have happened twice over the past few months. Back in October, my kids were visiting, and we were staying at Victoria's house. On a Sunday, I was making breakfast. Vic went to work, so the plan was the kids, and I would hit them all. I was cleaning up the dining area, and Anne left her school stuff on the table. I picked up her books, syllabus sheets, and laptop, and went to put them in her room. She was asleep, so I put the stuff on her desk, which is faced opposite her bed, so my back was to her. She asked, "What up?" I told her I was putting away her schoolwork and I was making breakfast. She said, "Okay." I told her it was biscuits and gravy, one of her favorites. She said, "Sounds good." When I turned around, she was laying on the bed. Her blankets was pulled across her chest, leaving one breast fully exposed. Her eyes are open, and I just threw my hand up covering my eyes and walked out. Later I went to get her after everyone ate since she still had not come out of her room. I knocked on her door and she opened it a crack. She stood in the door with her robe on and was holding closed high up to her neck. I told her breakfast was done a while ago. Did she remember me telling her earlier? She said no, she just woke up. I let it go. I didn't tell her what happened and dropped it. Fast forward to December. We were supposed to go shopping for gifts. I went into Anne's room to wake her. I confirmed the plan with her the day before. I go to wake her, and it did not go well. It ended with her snapping at me, but she did so again topless. This time, nothing was left uncovered. A range of emotions went through me. Irritation for being snapped at, embarrassed shame, curiosity. I left and went to the mall. I met my ex-wife and got my kids. I get a call about an hour after I left. Anne asking where I was. I told her her and I, an awkward interaction. So I left. She said she doesn't remember and asked if we would still go shopping. I went and picked her up. She never asked what happened. I have no doubt that she does not remember, and now it made me feel like I took advantage of her somehow, like hooking up with a girl too drunk to remember. And I feel guilty, and I've been beating myself up because part of me was excited that it happened not in the sexual nature, but that Anne was comfortable enough around me to be that way. I told Victoria what had happened, and she told Anne that her and I need to have a conversation. Problem is, I have no idea what to say or how to say what I'm feeling. Edit okay. So all of the comments, and the only one who I see making any sense is Aiken want attitude. To all the ones saying she secretly wants it, fuck off. Yes, I wrote some bullshit story on another post, and that one you can clearly tell is a story. It is labeled in parts. This is my life, and I use fake names to protect my family. I am aware of knocking and do so. I have permission from my SD to enter if I need to put stuff away. Since day one of meeting, I said if she ever wanted me to leave her home, I would no questions asked. I have done so a few times. I don't care that I seen her boobs. I have seen her in states of undress in the past. Hell, we lived together. My issue is that she said she didn't remember, and my GF wants us to talk about it. I find that embarrassing for myself and my stepdaughter. Story 24. I don't understand why I can't make friends. Something might just be wrong with me. I am 30F, neurodivergent with ADHD, autism, dyslexia. I cannot make friends. I have a boyfriend, and he's great, but I really struggle to fit into groups. I talk in a lot of local group chats with common interests, and I would make friends with people in the group and then just get ghosted or get yelled at for talking about my depression. My depression and anxiety is feeling so much worse, and I constantly feel alone. Things were simpler when I was younger. I had friends and didn't feel this far down into a pit. Now it feels like when I even talk in group chats, I'm constantly ignored. As of late, I just feel like I'm an issue, but don't know how to fix it. Because if people are constantly ignoring or ghosting me, then the issue has to be me. What's worst is I've gave these people money to help them out for their issues. I've always been told that if I'm nice things will happen. But it seems as of late that shitty people have friends. I'm glad to have my boyfriend, but even he tells me I should have friends. I also have a lot of trauma from being kicked out of a friend group in the past with untrue rumors spread about me and all my friends canceling me without seeing proof or facts. IDK. Maybe people are just bad and I'm better off by myself. I'm just done. I might just be terrible and don't deserve friends. Story 25. Random guy that I met while shopping whom I'll never see again. So today I went shopping with my mom and bro, and I met this guy from a sweet shop. He smiled at me. Obviously, I was surprised because he looked so good. And then he came out of the store helping a stranger. He really looked good, too tall, HOT and all. AAAND as I am with my fam. I couldn't talk to him or EVN chat randomly. EVN looking was embarrassing, and I ended up going home quickly, but at the end, he did actually look at me like eye contact stuff, and smiled. I blushed so hard and ran to the elevator that my mom was holding. So sad and full of regret because Avi not gonna meet that cute face again. Like TBH, I was thinking if a person like him would EVN look at me, but he did, and EVN smiled twice. Definitely made my day happy as well as sad. Story 26. Why is having good friends such a ganity for me? It is me or the people around me. I am 20 years old, I had an oakish childhood, but teenage wasn't so good. I was a smart one, had plenty of friends in class, talked to all. But when I left in 8th grade into another school, no one remembers me, it's just sad. When I look at the online chats back then, it was never just kids bonding, having goofy fun, it was just them asking for homework and notes. Even after 5 years or more, I still miss those people. Now more than ever, when there is no school, I don't even have new classmates. At least classmates used to care inside school. This time in life, I truly feel lonely. Just want some suggestions for building a hobby to not focus on such things. I'd be grateful if some of you provided some suggestions. Story 27. I've been chatting with a woman I met only twice for 10 years. Back in college, I met this girl through my old friend. She was pretty hot. I ended up taking her to the beach one day, and we made out on the beach, and then had car sex. But then I never saw her again. However, we just kept chatting on WhatsApp, telling nothing long, just about our day, and how we both hate our jobs. Sometimes I send her pics of my girlfriend and selfies, and she comments that she's hot. Anyway, 10 years later, and we are still chatting with each other at least 3 to 4 days of the week. We are not planning to ever meet, but we are like pen pals. Eerie. I have never told anyone about this, not even my girlfriend. To be fair, I have had 3 relationships while chatting with her on the side, and random. It's mostly just random text about how our day is going and how we hate work. She has never had a relationship since we started chatting though, after she dumped her ex 8 years ago. She is a big introvert and likes to be alone. Story 28. I scrubbed his toothbrush on random stuff around the bathroom. I was mentally and verbally abused by a narcissist for almost 8 years. He was an avid coke user that would randomly start fights with me so he had an excuse to storm out and party/do drugs. He also constantly gaslit me while putting me down verbally. He didn't work and just collected rent from one of his rental properties, but always gave me shit for only making $20 something an hour in my mid-20s, as it wasn't enough. He would even get to the point of putting up a fight with me when I wore shoes not to his liking, and refused to go out until I changed. The mental abuse happened so often that during that time I've mustered up enough hatred to go into the bathroom and scrub his toothbrush on random things, such as the sink and toilet, and whatever you can imagine scrubbing his toothbrush on, within the proximity of the bathroom. I'm not gonna lie, it felt so good to do it when I had so much trauma built up from his mental abuse. I have never confessed this to anyone but to my current, very healthy, loving, and supportive partner now. Story 29. I decided to provide myself with my own company benefit. My boss had a bunch of free tickets for rides at a local fun place that had miniature golf, race cars, and other things you could do all day. They were sitting on her desk. Boss was an asshole. Did the boss's job for years without getting paid for it or any type of promotion that had been promised. Before I went home one day, the day before the tickets were due to expire, I took the whole stack. I also took the next day off of work, and it was my birthday. It was a huge stack. I spent my entire birthday riding the rides at that amusement facility and racing the go-karts until my butt couldn't take anymore. It was glorious, and I'm not sorry. Story 30. I let my mom be homeless for 23 nights. I am a terrible daughter. I am 23 years old. My mom is 52. My mom has been depressed for years. I haven't spoken with my dad since I was 14. He remarried and moved in with his new wife and 2 kids, and my mom became a single parent. I definitely struggled with depression growing up. It's starting being very noticeable at 10. My mom always tried to cheer me up. Aerated eyes. She would bring me my favorite things, favorite food. She would compliment me. She would give me time and attention. We would hang out and go shopping and biking and walking. Aerated eyes. I have always loved my mom. She has been my best friend and favorite human. My confession is that I betrayed her. I hurt her deeply. I failed to protect her. I made her feel like I didn't care about her at her darkest time, and I am being eaten with guilt every day. Once my mom became a single parent, and we both knew I had detached from my dad, we ended up moving. We moved at low T for several years. We lived in 1 different province, around 5 different cities, and just lived pretty nomadically for a while. We had a lot of fun and adventures, but also a lot of hardship and mental illness and loneliness. I know this took its toll on my mom mentally. It took its toll on me mentally too. And I know I wasn't as mature as I should have been. I wasn't clean enough. I didn't mature fast enough. Right at the start of the pandemic, I think I was 18. My mom and I were living in a busy city in a little apartment where the ceilings were infested with noisy birds, and the neighbors and landlords were awful. I had just lost my job because of all the closings of places due to COVID-19. My mom was openly suicidal at this time. I didn't know how to help her, but I did know she needed help. We both did, really. Mom was so miserable and said she wanted to sell everything and get tents and go back to out hometown to live in tents. I thought she was kidding at first, but then she started watching YouTube videos and sharing them with me, and we actually started to come up with a plan to how we were going to do this. We bought tents. We got rid of most of our stuff, and the rest we put in storage. We had a friend of my mom's drop us off in a small city just outside of my hometown, and we set up our tents and had our first night outdoors. I think we were homeless together for 2 weeks. We were outside all the time. We would wash up in public bathrooms. We would suntan and hang out in parks during the day and find somewhere private and quiet to set up our tents at night. We got caught in an awful storm one night. It was scary as fuck. Eventually, we checked into a hotel and stayed there for a while. At around 20, my relationship with my mom was more strained, and she was wanting me to move out. I eventually got my own room rental and a full-time job, and I thought things were actually getting better. I was making friends, or so I thought, at work. My mom had her own one-bedroom apartment and seemed to be happy to be an empty nester. I would visit my mom 2 or 3 times a week and bring her gifts/groceries. I had just discovered online shopping and loved giving her cute stuff I found online. She would cook for us and feed me and give me little gifts, and we would talk. I am embarrassed to say I would fall asleep on her couch a lot. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and once I sat down, I'd feel so comfortable I'd just fall asleep. It was rude and probably made my mom feel lonely and unimportant. I feel like I have been such a narcissist. In 2023, my mom had a mental breakdown. She had been going through perimenopause, and I knew it had been rocking her world, and she was struggling, but I really didn't understand where she was at. I should have done more research. I should have been more empathetic. In the summer of 2023, she told me she was moving back to our hometown. She said she was going to stay in a hotel, one we had used to live at together for over 2 years, and look for a rental. I wasn't thrilled about this. I wanted us to be in the same city, and I liked my job and felt I had friends. I wasn't ready to move. And at the same time, my mom was saying she didn't want me to come with her. I don't care. She actually told me I was one of the reasons she was leaving. She was really angry at this time, which in hindsight I really think it was hormonal and due to perimenopause. She told me I wasn't allowed to say I would miss her. I helped her get some of her stuff ready and came to say goodbye on her last day in the city, but I annoyed her because I was talking about my friends and about going to their place later. She actually told me I had to leave. Once she was back in our hometown, she did stay in the hotel and look for rentals, but she didn't find anything. Eventually, she told me she was going to go back to living in a tent. I tried to convince her not to. I asked her to move back to the city I lived in. I asked her to continue staying at the hotel. She had money. She could have, but she didn't. She bought all the stuff she needed and stayed outside in a tent for 23 nights. I let my mom be homeless for 23 nights. This is my confession, and it's eating me alive. I literally can't sleep because I can't stop thinking about this. It's why I have to write it all out. My mom was outside and alone for 23 nights. I texted her the whole time, but it took me too long to go to her. It took me almost 20 nights just to go visit her and bring her things. She was so angry at the time. One of the reasons I didn't go to her right away is so shamefully because I was scared of her. She was telling me to fuck off and saying she hated me. Weeks ago, she told me not to come and said she would be pissed if I did. She said she wanted to be homeless and wanted to be free, and now was her chance to do it without worrying about me. Now I know she was lying. I should have known then. I should have seen my mom's behavior for the warning sign it was. She needed help more than ever, and I let her chase me away. She was still texting and calling me. I should have asked a friend to drive me and forced her to come back. I should have stayed in the city and begged her to come back. I should have stayed with her. It took 23 nights. 23 nights she slept outside alone and went through rain and loneliness and feeling like she was abandoned. After 23 nights, she finally agreed to let me and someone I knew at the time to go get her. I found her a room rental, set it up for her, and got the key and made sure she had bedding. That ended up being its own disaster. Now we are back to living together and she hates me. She is trying to forgive me, but she can't believe how I reacted, and neither can I really. I failed her. She was there for me emotionally and financially all my childhood days. Gave me so much love, and I hurt her. I don't know how to live with myself. Sorry this is so damn long. I've never posted about this before. I just can't get it out of my head. I just don't know what to do. My confession is, I am a terrible daughter. Story 31. I have had a prolapsed hemorrhoid for over 6 years. I finally worked up the courage to make an appointment to see a doctor about this. I wouldn't be surprised if I needed surgery. I've been so ashamed for so long that I just need to get this off my chest. I first discovered it when I was maybe 13. I could have been younger. I just noticed a weird thing sticking out and decided to just push it back in. I had no idea what it was. I continued to have no idea what it was until now, at 19. in college. I was too afraid to tell anyone or research at BC. I was freaked out and weirded out by it. Anyway, I'm still freaked out and weirded out and absolutely terrified to see a doctor, but I can't stand living with this anymore. It makes me afraid to use the bathroom BC. It feels like I'm pooping glass and I just want it gone. Anyway, only my boyfriend knows, but I didn't want to tell him very much. I just needed to get this off my chest. Story 32. Ending up in a bizarre situation and not being able to tell your best friend. I never experienced high school love or teenage love or whatever that bullshit is. All I ever had was ex-crushes. And I used to have a crazy crush on this guy on my class, and also first ever existing person crush. I was head over heels for him, which he didn't know neither. I ever told anyone about it. After torturing myself with this unrequited sort of situation, I decided to forget him and move on. And fortunately, I did. Years passed. Now, my best friend's love life was as doomed as mine, until it was not. She got her first ever boyfriend, who was none other than my first ever ex-crush. Good thing she doesn't know about this silly thing. Otherwise, it would have made things a bit awkward between us. Everything about this situation is so book-talk coded and funny and awkward. Am I the antagonist here? It reminds me of that quote, "I saw him first, but it didn't matter because he saw her." She even asked me to meet him, and I had to. And it wasn't so bad, because I didn't feel anything. It was normal. Younger me would have squealed in excitement just because she could talk to him. She'd never spoken to him, even though he was her classmate. Fortunately, I'm over him for good. Story 33. I got drunk and stole a blanket and a family tray of pasta. In college, I got a little too drunk and walked some friends back to our sorority house, but I didn't live there, so I still had to Uber 10 minutes home. I don't remember why, but I was really mad or sad that night. So I called my Uber and before leaving, snuck to the basement and took a blanket. Midwest winters are brutal. And a whole tray of baked ziti from the fridge. I got home and sat on my floor in my stolen blanket and ate my tray of ziti for the next week. I feel bad about the blanket, but no regrets on the ziti. Story 34. I would steal my grandma's social security checks from age of 11 to 13. My father died when I was 11. I was just 1 month away from turning 12. My mother immediately went down the rabbit hole of drugs and alcohol. So I didn't just lose one parent, I lost both. Our checks from my dad's death went to my grandma. She was always the most stable person I ever had. Shortly after my dad died, my grandma's husband of 10 years left her for his affair partner. This led to my grandma getting started on meth and heroin and a sick gambling addiction. In the beginning, she did make sure all our needs were met. Then it just got worse and worse over like 6 months. I was the oldest of my 3 siblings, so 4 of us total. We eventually were living in the house with no water, no electricity, and no food. She sold our food stamps for her habits. So I eventually started going in her room and taking mostly all of her cash while she was sleeping. If she'd already bought drugs with the cash checks, I would take the drugs and sell them to local dope heads. At first, I used this money by splitting it up between my brothers and sister to get vending machine snacks at school. Or I'd go to Walmart up the street and buy school clothes before school started. And I'd tell my grandma the clothes were donated. One Christmas, she didn't get anything, but Christmas Eve, she went to Dollar Tree for some notebooks. I left $80 for each of my little brothers in the notebook. They were like 5 and 7. But eventually, around the age of 13, I started keeping more for myself than what I did previously and buying weed or alcohol or cigarettes. This time, it was 2 months before my 14th birthday, and me and all my siblings got put into DHS custody. We all have aged out now except for my youngest brother, who is 16 now. My grandma and mother got clean just within the last 2 years. My grandma tells me about the bad friend she had that stole from her all the time, and that's why she couldn't get us food or school clothes or pay the bills. But I only started taking her money when I realized what she was doing with it. She also had at least 4 other dope heads living with us at any point in time when she started going down. It was the #1 dope house, so easily the blame could be on one of them. Is this something I should tell my grandma I was responsible for, or just let it die with me? Story 35. I steal things from the lost and found at my high school. Hear me out. I am a 17-year-old lower middle class who goes to a school that is pretty wealthy and predominantly very privileged people in a wealthy area. Their 17-year belongings vary poorly and leave them everywhere on campus in the dirt and rain, where they frequently stay for several weeks before getting moved to the lost and found for even more time. If I see something in the lost and found that has been there for more than 3 weeks that I am in need of or really want but can't buy, I take it. I only take lunch containers and water bottles, computer mice, etc., because I don't want to get lice from clothing. I wash the things very well and only take what I need and make good use of it. I told my support counselor, and he said probably don't tell anyone, but that the things are likely not missed by their original owners. My mom was pretty upset because, although these people are disrespecting belongings that costed time and money, this is technically still stealing. I am very religious but won't say what, and stealing is a huge sin in my religion, but so is being wasteful, so I wonder if that cancels out. Anyway, I feel very guilty about it now that I really started seeing it as stealing. I needed to confess this. I'm probably going to stop doing it, even though it has saved me so much money. Thanks. What should I do? Eat it. I am not Christian. Story 36. I am suffering because I did not appreciate my father, and it's my fault. So the last couple of months have been difficult for me, probably the hardest my life has ever been. I am only 19. My dad accused my mom of cheating. I don't believe she did, but I can't know. This led to her being abused and me being used as a weapon against her. My dad reiterated he loved me, but only after he caused me some of my greatest traumas. Fast forward, my mother eventually leaves and he tells us to block her. She reports the case to child services in my country, and they are called for a discussion where he decided to bring my younger siblings. I was in uni at the time, which was not required. It was meant to be some sort of mediation. He gives up the kids. I also went, expecting my mom to not be able to handle them, but when she did, he was angry, especially at me, insisting I am planning something against him. He eventually picked one of my sisters, his favorite, and the other is with my mom and I. So my mom files for custody. I wrote a supporting affidavit, even though everyone asked me to be neutral. I did not lie. And he had done all those things. He abused me, like kicking me out once in the middle of the night. My dad then files revealing he is not my biological father, and that my mom has me before they were married, and insisting he should not pay my university fees. My mom cannot afford it, although it is not that much it is for her. It is like 2,000 United States dollars per year. So then my father is insisting, since he lives in the matrimonial house, he should get custody. Although he is unemployed, he sold his car. The revelation about him not being my biological father has bruised me. I feel guilty that this guy who knew cause he did took care of me for all those years and gave me a better life than my actual father could, and I wrote an affidavit about him and called him abusive. Maybe I was manipulated. I kind of hate myself. I don't know if this will turn out well for me. The uni I was in was my dream university and my dream course, and I will lose it all because I did not appreciate a man who took care of me, though I was not his son. I am sorry, genuinely. I don't know if I will have a good testimony after all this is decided, maybe in 2 weeks' time, but either way, I am trying to trust God's plan, but again, I don't know if God's plan is on my side, cause even though that affidavit was truthful, is it dishonoring? I genuinely feel really bad and wish I could just like disappear, but I can't take my life because it is God's to take. I genuinely don't know. Sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. I messed up before God, and it is all my fault, the consequences that come. Story 37. I slowly begin to think my stepfather was right about me. First, I apologize. English is not my first language, and I'll write the way it comes in my head, so it may be a bit confusing. Okay, so my mother met this man when I, 29M, was 12. Since the beginning, it's always been complicated because we're completely different persons. Where he's at least was, the kind of man who works all the time, does everything at home to avoid paying someone. I helped him when I could for years in the garden to clean the house, anywhere I could help. But the thing is, it never was good enough, so I was always so many times I was good at nothing, that I would do nothing in my life and would end homeless like my father became when my mother left. I heard it so many times I began to believe it, and it truly broke my self-esteem and probably put me in depression. I've been diagnosed with PTSD just because of him. But I tried to overcome it, to stop thinking about it and just live my life and do my best to prove him wrong. When I was 24 years old, I found my first real job, the one where I still am, and thought everything would be okay from there, with my self-esteem slowly rebuilding up at the same time. I don't know why, but for the past 2 to 3 months, I started making some mistakes at this job. Everything I heard for 11 years, from 12 to 23 years old, has come back in my head. It's there non-stop, and I can't stop to think about it, making me make even more mistakes. For the past 5 years, I tried to convince me I was not as dumb and useless as he said I was, but the past weeks seems to prove him right, and it's hard to deal with. Sorry for the huge text. It's the first time I speak about this to someone. My GF doesn't know half of this, because I hate to speak about it. I don't want compassion or anything. I just needed to write it somewhere.